Baseball was his life. Since he was 4 years old, James Clear had spent countless hours on the diamond, dreaming of playing professionally just like his dad. But on the final day of his sophomore year of high school, a classmate took a full swing and lost his grip. The impact smashed his nose into a distorted U-shape, fractured multiple bones in his skull, and shattered both eye sockets. As the soft tissue of his brain slammed against the inside of his skull, confused and bleeding heavily onto a borrowed shirt, he was helped to his feet for a slow, agonizing walk across the field to the nurse's office. No one realized yet that every minute was critical. When the nurse began asking basic questions to test his cognition, his brain misfired. He thought the year was 1998. It was actually 2002. He said the president was Bill Clinton. The correct answer was George W. Bush. It took him 10 full seconds just to remember his own mother's name. By the time he reached the local hospital, his body was actively shutting down. He struggled to swallow. He had a seizure, and then he stopped breathing entirely. Recognizing they were unequipped for this level of head trauma, doctors scrambled to pump oxygen into him by hand and called for an emergency medevac. A helicopter rushed him to a larger hospital in Cincinnati, where a team of nearly 20 doctors and nurses sprinted him into the trauma unit. The swelling in his brain was so severe, it triggered repeated post-traumatic seizures. Unable to operate safely on his broken face, the medical team placed him on a ventilator and induced a coma. A single random fraction of a second can erase a person's entire trajectory, leaving them at absolute zero. Waking up the next morning was only the beginning of a brutal reality. The trauma had temporarily severed his sense of smell. And when a nurse asked him to gently blow his nose as a test, the air pressure pushed through the facial fractures and forced his left eyeball outward, leaving it bulging out of the socket. The months that followed required a grueling level of physical therapy. He suffered from double vision for weeks, unable to see straight, much less track a fast-moving baseball. He had to painstakingly practice basic human motor patterns, like walking in a straight line, over and over again. A year later, he finally returned to the sport he loved, but his body hadn't caught up to his ambition. Despite his desperate desire to play, he was the only junior cut from the varsity team and sent down to play with the sophomores. Wishing for a rapid return to form couldn't heal a shattered foundation. Effort alone wasn't solving the deficit, and he sat in his car and cried as his lifelong goal slipped away. 2 years after the injury, he started college at Denison University. He was at the absolute bottom of the baseball roster. It became clear that nobody was coming to rescue his career. If he was going to recover, he had to engineer his own turnaround. Instead of fixating on the massive goal of becoming a star athlete, he shifted his focus. He started controlling tiny, highly localized behaviors. While his peers stayed up late playing video games, he strictly enforced his sleep schedule. He kept his dorm room meticulously neat. He unknowingly relied on behavioral science, the habit loop. This 4-step cycle automates actions: cue, craving, response, reward. Older models focused on external stimuli, but this modern model shows how internal states like moods directly influence cravings. These ideas are rooted in the work of mid-century behavioral scientists like B.F. Skinner, who first popularized the concept of operant conditioning. Skinner's early experiments proved that human action isn't purely spontaneous. It can be systematically engineered through careful adjustments to rewards and punishments. Applying this logic to his daily schedule transformed his recovery into an engineered system of small, automatic responses to everyday cues. Those tiny daily choices started stacking up. By making it a habit to lift weights multiple times a week, his frame grew from a frail 170 pounds to a lean 200. His refined study routines led to straight A's in the classroom. Little by little, his confidence returned. And on the baseball field, he moved from the very bottom of the roster to earning a starting role. By his junior year, he was voted team captain, and by graduation, 6 years after his skull was crushed, he was named an ESPN Academic All-American, an honor given to just 33 players in the entire country. This is a chart showing his email newsletter growth over time. He applied that exact same system to his writing career, starting a habit of publishing 2 articles a week. Just like his physical recovery, the results accumulated slowly at first, but eventually spiked into the hundreds of thousands, turning into a massive business and the foundation for his book. The trajectory of our lives tracks with the systems we run every day. By committing to tiny, consistent improvements, fulfilling your potential becomes the logical result of the system.